Bhadram karnebhi shrnuyama devaha Bhadram pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Stirairangaihi tushtuvagam sastanubhihi Vyashema devahitam yadayuhu Svastina Indro Vrdhashravaha Svastina Pusha Vishwavedaha Svastina Starkshyo Arishtanemihi Svastino Brahaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Okay, so we stopped at the ratio that we receive and that we bring onto ourselves through our actions. And so we're now in stage 4, because the universe has come and the 5 elements. The 5 elements is just a model, the Vedic model, that includes not only periodic table of elements, but also includes time and space. Okay, so it's a much more comprehensive model. Now, don't really think about, what do these elements mean? Fire, space, air, earth. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but it is a model to explain, what these things are made of. Just like the scientific model, we say that things are made of atoms and various elements. We say in Vedas, that the world, the constituents of the world, is made of 5 elements. Okay. So now the world has come. The beings, living, breathing, thinking beings have come, and they can start to make decisions, and every decision will bring them certain wisdom, certain pleasantness in life, and unpleasantness in life. And so this is how you try to now make your life to the best of that life has to offer. So this means you got no choice. So now we start to say, how do I bring the best that life has to offer? And you say, well, I have to align to the laws, which are also manifestations of Hiranyagarbha, the blueprint. So they also manifest not only mind, elements, loka, but also laws and orders. For example, you're given the physiological order, which takes care of your energy. Now, that physiological order gets disrupted through lack of rest or loading the body with excessive fats. Then it's not able to break that down, so it's able to then store it in its various parts depending on the gender. And then the person looks themselves in the mirror. Now they're tired, they can't hold themselves, they're not strong, and you say, well, I violated physiological order. It was working for me all the time, but I fed it things that were not healthy. So I suppressed the physiological order from doing what it's meant to be doing, which is to give you a smiley face. So who produces a frown like that? Our own actions, by violating the laws. We're given the psychological order. The psychological order maintains your sanity. That is to remain a sensible, thoughtful, discerning, and generous human being. One has to, follow through. Now, I can say, no, I'm not going to give you this. This is mine, and I can get away with it. But what's my psychological order going to produce? Guilt, smallness, shame. So it automatically kicks in. So this is already built in. Suppose you ask me my age, and I say I'm 106 years old. And then what am I going to feel in that moment? Guilt for lying to you. Did I want that guilt? I didn't want that guilt, but it came anyway. So this means there's always an order that takes precedence, always a higher order that I can't go outside of. So if that's true, then are you outside the order? No. In fact, all we do is try to align to these orders all life. Every day we try to align to these orders. It's almost like you got no choice. And the more we align to these orders, the more you're able to understand and have a clear mind so that this, takes place, this knowledge takes place. Okay, so the orders and laws have come, and now the question is, why, and this is going to be open for you, why do we not have knowledge of our nature? Why is this hidden from us? These models and this knowledge, it's in the air, it's always open, it's always available online and in the books. Why is it hidden from so many people? Why hidden? Question. Why do you think? Ignorance of what? Ignorance of the laws, right? So therefore, if we have ignorance of laws, which means we're too busy working out, solving inconveniences that we have created in our lives. So this means if I don't align myself to the laws, I will keep on producing a unhappy face, and to produce a happy face, you have to then act. What comes after action? Wait, and then results. Now, because it's such a huge process, you can't trace which result is to which action, because I've applied so many actions down the line. So the person is so busy acting and getting results, whatever kind of results, they lose track. What kind of actions are corresponding to healthy behaviors, and what kind of actions are leading me down into a non-smiley face? So the person gets very, very busy seeing the world of projection. In other words, you are who you are. Petra is who she is, but I'm carrying a snake. I'm carrying my own ideas of her. And so if I'm talking to you, whatever your name is, and I don't see you, you're going to feel that. And you're going to give me a response. But because you're not keeping with my snake, I'm going to think something's wrong with you. Because it is my own world that I have created. So this means now you need to fit into my world so it makes sense. But you're just giving me feedback. Hey, Andre, this is not right. So this means with so many mental complexes, they end up creating a snake. Okay. So everyone wants to bite you now. Run. Fear. Run. And then go buy poison, Go protect yourself. Protect yourself against the snake with a shield. This is a chest shield. No, why is the arms there? Okay, so I've got a big shield here, and I pretend like I'm macho, Mr. Invincible. So I close my heart to you, and I'm not listening to you because, I'm protecting myself because you are a snake to me. But in my head, there are ideas inside a bubble that I'm yet to eliminate. Idea 1, B, C, all these ideas have to be crossed out. A, B, C. Or relatively handled, because the truth is you're never going to really eliminate all ideas in the mind. It's not possible. But I can relatively take them, in my hands. Okay. Now, that's the first reason. The second reason why there are so many who don't know this, nor would they know this in this lifetime, but some lifetime for sure, is because this potential hides. Avarana. Avarana means it's hiding, has a hiding ability. Hiding or veiling, that's better. Veiling. So, for instance, if I say to you, think of red. When I say think of red, I am not saying think of blue. So this means I have to hide all colors and make you think of red. So in order to show differences in this world, this potential has to hide information in order to create differences. How are differences created? By eliminating other parts. Like if I say, what makes me different from you? What do you say? Well, you have certain, traits that are hidden from me, that I don't have. Right? Likewise. So you eliminate one to present the other. So now that at the macrocosm in a world ends up creating variety. Lovely variety. That's why we have travel packages. You want to go to different countries. Why? Because Hawaii's weather and vibe is hidden from Japan's weather and vibe. So now you want to go to Hawaii. And then you want to go to Japan because they're both hiding each other's traits. But then what happens when it's operating at the level of the microcosm, at the level of the person? That same veiling makes you not know how to walk when you're born, or to say basic language, or basic words, or even what plus means, or minus, nothing. Everything's hidden from you. So what are you going to do? Learn and remove the veil. That means now I'm going to remove the veil in reference to English. Okay, let's spend 5 years in that. Remove the veil in reference to walking. How long is that, parents? 1.5. Okay? So now you add all these years up, and then, PhD and doctor and so on, and then you have many years invested removing apara vidya ignorance. Apara vidya ignorance. So not only is apara vidya ignorance, apara vidya knowledge hidden from you, but especially para vidya is hidden from you. Because we're spending all our lives adding up these years to remove different, and then all of the problems that are generated because of your learning English. Because now you can have a fight with someone. And now you create another person, now you have to deal with their stuff just because you learned English. Now you spend 10 years with them. Right? So it all adds up. So this avarana shakti, at the macrocosm, it creates a difference. At the micro, at the level of the individual, it hides two realities from you. The reality of potential, which is knowledge and power, and the reality of consciousness. And so you just walk around thinking there's no need to learn anything. All I have to learn is just practical stuff. Speak, walk, make money, and live a good life. So 2 reasons. 1, mind distortions, and 2, avarana shakti. Those 2 variables hide reality for everyone. And because it's hidden from you, and who are you? From the one from whom it's hidden? All-pervasive. All-pervasive Aksharam Brahma. And you thus can't stand it. Because you're all-pervasive, and yet I am as good as this small being. And I can't stand that. I can't explain why I can't stand it. All I know is I can't stand it. And because I can't stand it, I will do everything desperately to try to remove that sense of limitation. Because your nature is always all-pervasive, infinite. Thus, we get into the world of trying and trying and trying and trying. Nothing is working, but every time you discover something is not working, you eliminate one more variable. This is not working. This is not. And this goes on for lifetimes. And every life we get born with more maturity. That's why some kids go into things that are uncool or dangerous, and other kids don't. Because those kids who don't, they're already eliminated in past lives. I'm not going to go and spend more time with these baddies and do these weird things. They go into more mature things, like, oh, chanting, this is interesting. And the rest of the kids are like, oh, what's wrong with you, dork? You know, what are you doing? But they're yet to go through the same process. So it goes through a process of elimination. Every life you eliminate one, no, 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 lifetimes until you say yes to paravidya.
Doesn't that assume that it's a linear development from, and not just like?
Yeah, good point. It's actually it's not a linear. It is more of a stock market. Right? So you don't know, sometimes one life, right? I get invited into a cool party because I need some validation because I'm not getting any with my brother. My cool brother's not giving me any. So I go into the bad boys circle. And they offer me, hey, be a bad boy with us and you're going to get the girls. So I start out here and I need some love. Every human being needs some love. So I join the bad boys and now I hang out there. And who are they? What kind of notions do they carry? Notions that are going to take me down even further. And now those notions, by the time I'm 20, right, they're already imprinted for my life. So now my trajectory starts from my 20 and I have to kind of work my way up. And then I die at 99 years. Where did I start out? I started much higher than I died. So this process continues. Yeah. So that's why we say you need Ishwara's, God's grace, to take you to a point where you're not just here, but you rise above. How do we know? How do we show this? Simple. You have rich kids born and they become entitled because their parents always give them everything, and by the time they're 25, it's just this culture of entitlement. So they started out with punyam, and they were given rich parents and healthy, stable environment, and they through their decision-making process fell down. And others start here and they say, my parents are struggling. I'm struggling. I don't want to see anyone struggle. I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to work myself up. Way up, all the way to paravidya. So does it matter where you're born? With whom you're born? Yes and no, isn't it? Yes and no. Yeah. But ultimately, you are born, at least you're born with a human body.
It seems that there is some inner wisdom in some children and others not. That's why you can have in one family, that each of them does very different, like an inner wisdom to know to go up, and another one doesn't have that at all.
That's very interesting too. I know. Grown up with the same family, huh?
Well, that's your story, no?
That's my story. Yeah, born with my brother and I, same parents, totally different path, same opportunities. He goes into Christianity. I become successful in my family, loves me for that. My brother is with my parents. Yeah, totally different people. I'm out there in the world, he's at home. But if I look at it like that, is it really all negative? Not really, because my brother is taking care of my parents, and that makes me very safe. He's doing something that I'm not designed for. I'm designed to be in the world. My brother is different. So I asked myself, or you ask yourself, what can you do for them? What is your part for them? I ask myself the same question. I say to them, Mom, Dad, I can give you finances. No problem. That's my part. That's what I can give you. But can I give you my time? Honestly, no. So I'm giving them what I can give them, but I can't give them what someone else can give them. because you're living your vision. You're living your purpose. 2 parents, 2 kids, different path. Did I get opportunities? No. Ordinary people. Never saw them hold hands or kiss. Never learned the word emotion in my family. No such thing as sharing emotions. Just suck it up. Never learned how to communicate or be honest or follow through my words. I'll be down in 5 minutes, but they're down in 10 minutes. Never learned how to follow up. And then I realized, hey, there's so many things that I don't know. I want to know. I never learned anything. I'm just a simple person. Just joke. Just a joker with my brother. That's all we do, just joke. Very funny. And then our dad takes us to a new continent and everything explodes. Australia. I land and I go to a kitchen, start working as a chef. First salary ever. Parents never gave me any pocket money. Not even a cent. Always said, work and discover how to get it for yourself. So my first salary, at $50. Imagine getting your first money at 17. Oh man, I was so happy. Next day, I went to Pitt Street in Sydney and I was walking and just impulse turn and I walked into a bookstore. I looked up and there's this course called Mega Memory. It's the very same course that I couldn't afford because I never got a cent in South Africa. I bought that course with my first salary. And that course then opened up a whole world of ideas. Be better, improve yourself, psychology, physiology, exercise. Wow, what is this? From then on, I was in the library, like a pile of books on one side, on the other, learning, consuming. What got such a person to such a path? By what grace? I don't know. But if one thing happened different, that would have not happened at all. And then all this knowledge came. And then I said, hey, Dad, I'm not getting along with you very well because now my world is very positive. I'm reading all these positive books and I'm still getting like negative in my ear. And I got angry. I gotta come out of this home. So then I started to learn in business books, how to succeed. And then I quickly learned that, finally get enough money. And then one day my mom was watching soap opera, Days of Our Lives, and a truck comes. Oh, son. Suddenly a truck comes and she realizes, my dad was working, that her son is leaving. Because I didn't have the courage to tell them that I'm leaving. It was so hard to leave. So the truck came and my mom was very much crying and I just started to pack my stuff. And I'll see you guys soon. And within 1 year of having my own flat, different man altogether. Had my own space. Parents could visit. My relationship got fixed with my parents. I could now see them in a brand new light. No more pressure. And then I realized, hey, even this is not enough because I've now gotten everything a man could ever want. I learned about what it means to be successful. It was all about being, this person of wisdom and financial success, at least for a man. So I attained that. And I've gotten so much success. And then I realized, now what? I got it all. At 27, had it all. Had it all that a man could want by 90. Accomplished. So much. Still feel empty. And I said, hey, let me take a risk. Let me go to Peru. let me go to Peru, to the Amazon, and meet a shaman by myself. And I met a shaman there. We had, this liquid, whatever you want to call it. And that changed my life permanently. It's opened the doors completely. Came home, I was clear. And then I said, hey, I still feel empty. This was an amazing thing, but how do I make it stick? And then I got into, I think, A Course in Miracles got into my life. I did that for 1.5 years. That changed my life. It's all about looking at the world differently. The moment I finished it, the day I finished it, Vedanta teacher showed up in my life. Was ready. Then Vedanta teacher answered the questions that I needed to see. Came home and I thought, oh, now let's go back and be a Tai Chi teacher. I went to Thailand, got my certificate, came home, forgot about Vedanta. But then another calling said, hey, go and look at the recordings. And then I looked at the recordings, and it was like putting water on the seeds. And all that knowledge started to just explode. Clarity. And then total clarity came. And then another impulse. Go and share this. Who am I? I'm just a small nobody. The hardest decision, the hardest thing ever. Because I always had a problem with feeling a little bit too young and people not taking me seriously. So I thought, who am I to do this? So much confrontation. But little by little, I started to share. People liked what they heard. And then I said, hey parents, thank you for offering me your house to teach, but I want to do this completely. I'm very clear what is to be done. So I got a house in Melbourne.
Yes, I just wanted to ask a quick question. So everything that you learned over the years regarding Vedanta,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've gained all of this knowledge, and say tomorrow you die, I'm not wishing you dead, but say you die, and you're reborn again. What happens with all of this knowledge that you've gained?
Sure.
You have to start all the way from scratch?
Sure. So just as we explained, you get born in this one of the stock markets. So if you die with this knowledge, then you get born up. So you're naturally, spontaneously attracted to wisdom. You can't explain why, but you just are. And that wisdom is going to take you to the right people, to the right connections. You're going to type in the right keywords on Google and find the right resources, and very quickly find yourself back in the journey, back in the spiritual journey.
Born to the right parents.
Yeah, with the parents who are supportive and understanding and encouraging of your search. Yeah.
So there is a universal order which governs. It's not just your free will as such.
What?
In this particular lifetime, you have a choice. So I'm going towards, is there a shorter way to go to para-vidya?
Do you choose? Well, you choose through your mini decisions, and they add up, making you more pure. And the purer your mind becomes, the more you want to know the answer, the more you are sensitive to that inner void. So as long as the mind is, right, with all of its notions, it can't hear that there's more. Its version of there's more is as good as the world. So that's why sometimes we need to make that mind pure, so that voice of there's more is no longer looking outwards, but it's looking more inwards. And that's what makes you shift from apara vidya into paravidya.
And is there Adishankaracharya gave a set of rules of sadhanas?
Yes, we have, in fact, we're going to go to the journey of how a person goes from rituals and eventually comes to knowledge. We're going to go through the order now, and we'll see. which is exactly what we're actually no, one more verse and then we'll start. Okay, now one more question I want to pose is what is the purpose of creation models? What is the purpose of creation models in Advaita Vedanta? Now the purpose is not for kind of fascination. I mean, it's fascinating, but the ultimate purpose is to show you that no matter what model we show, Vedanta actually doesn't care about how creation came. We only want to show one thing. No matter what model, effect always comes from the cause. Wherever there's an effect, that's where the cause is. However you explain this, whatever words you use, Vedanta doesn't care. We only want to show one thing. All that is here is one, manifesting as many. In fact, when you understand this world as mithya, so what how it came? If it came one way, it's mithya. If it came another way, it's still mithya. That's it. So all these fascinating models, eventually they too become something to think and then move on. They just want to show one thing. Wherever there is mithya, that's exactly where satyam is. Okay, verse 9. Yaha sarvajnaha sarvavit yasya jnanamayam tapaha tasmat etad brahma nama rupam anam cha jayate. So that Brahman is all knowledge in general, and also says all knowledge in terms of detail. Okay, so now what happens so far? Knowledge and power. Where is knowledge and power here? Somewhere, right? Knowledge and power. Yeah, I think it's there. So knowledge, yeah, all the way above. So knowledge and power has manifest, okay? Manifest into the world. And when you are now in this world, you say, what is the source? What is the cause called? And we say the cause is called Ishvara. What's the actual cause called? Brahman, Aksharam Brahman. Now that the world has manifest, that same cause you say Ishvara or Lord. Ishvara just means cause of the universe. So is there any difference between Brahman and Ishvara? Not at all. Just the name changes so you can be a little bit more accurate with, quote, before and after. But it's ultimately, there's no before and after. Okay? And also, another very important point is, when we say, see, there's this tendency in Advaita to say, I am Brahman, I am Brahman, I am Brahman. All there is here is Brahman. See, Dayananda had this Swami Dayanandaji had this very interesting way of communicating the reality. And he says, all that is here is Ishvara. But then most traditions also say, all that is here is Brahman. And so I'm like, what's the difference here? Well, I thought about it. There's this tendency in my observation, when people say Brahman, they usually include only the knower, the very person, the very consciousness right here, right now. But while they're saying I'm Brahman, they're not accounting the world. It's almost like saying I'm Brahman, yeah, I'm Brahman. But your eyes are open and looking at, right, Brahman. But Brahman seems to be only localized here. Now, when you say all that is here is Ishvara, Ishvara includes not only the knower, it includes the known object, and it also includes the thoughts, the knowing, the pramata, prameya, and pramana. So, what do you think? I'm Brahman, I'm Ishvara. That is up to you. But I found in my personal experience that all that is here is Ishvara is very inclusive language. It's inclusive language. Now this Ishvara is both sarvajna, that means all knowledge as we explained, and sarvavit, that means knowledge of particulars, how to make your body work, your lungs work, Your organs connect together. So details, knows all knowledge about details, but also knows all knowledge about its own truth, which is Brahman. Okay? So Ishvara is not ignorant of its nature. Now, when a person discovers their truth as Brahman, they are, according to the verse, only sarvajna, only knows knowledge of its truth. You don't know knowledge of the details. Important. So this means a wise person doesn't have knowledge of the details. They still don't know how the world, how the world works. They only know my truth is Brahman, Ishvara's truth is Brahman. And then he continues and he says, his tapas, that means his visualized world, his tapas is nothing but knowledge alone. Look at this. His tapas, his world, is nothing but knowledge alone. Just like I said, everything in your dream is filled with knowledge of your life. So this world that we experience is nothing but filled with Ishvara's knowledge. That's all you're really experiencing now. Knowledge in a form of pen that you're writing with and paper you're writing on and the body with which you're writing. So this means the world is nothing but Ishvara's manifestation. The knowledge being manifested as this world. Knowledge appearing as concrete forms. Knowledge appearing as color. Knowledge appearing as time. Knowledge appearing as, what's it called? Rooster. Right? One knowledge reshuffling itself constantly, manifesting as this very moment, and also appearing as laws and orders which are governing how fast that sound wave from the rooster travels into your ear, depending on the pressure of the air, depending on the altitude. How fast does the speed of light travel? And then, nama rupam anam cha jayate, therefore, all names, all forms, everything is born from Brahman, which means by knowing Brahman, you know everything. Section 2 of, what is this? Section 2, rituals. Okay. Now, this is a part that often is skipped, but I didn't skip it because it takes us through a wonderful order to show you this journey of how we start out and how you eventually get to the truth. And it wants to start by saying, Tat etat satyam, verse 1, Tat etat satyam, mantreshu karmani kavayo yani apashyantani tretayam, bahudha santatani tani acharta, niyatam satyakamaha, eshavaha pantaha sukritasya loke. So you're going to be asking, why are we now regressing? We're going from the highest knowledge into Karma-Kanda, into rituals. And I won't tell you why, but you'll be very surprised where this section is going to take you. And you're going to then see, so that's the purpose of rituals and what it was meant to show us. So, rituals, what are they? So according to the verse, they are a means, a method to get specific results. You have a ritual in your life for getting something. The rishis, they saw these rituals, and they're not just some random kind of cobbled together rituals. They saw them just like they saw the knowledge. They saw these models. They saw these, the 5 elements, this whole model they saw. They also saw in this order, if you do certain things, you can take advantage and benefit. It will give you a certain health. It will give you, certain even clairvoyant skills. And so you can gain siddhis. You can gain a lot of things through rituals. You can cure illness through distance. And let's see what else it says. And one more thing I want to say is that rituals, yes, they are apara vidya. Okay? So they can't give you moksha. But what can they give you? Let's see. Verse 2. Description of Agnihotra. Yada leyayate hi archihi samidhe havyavahane tada ajya bhagao antarena ahutihi pratipadayet. What is Agnihotra? So Agnihotra is the simplest form of a ritual in the Vedic culture. And it's basically a fire ritual. It's performed twice a day, and it's done until the person dies or takes sannyasa. So then they can stop. And the Agnihotra, to create this fire ritual, that means you have certain wood and fire, and it presents certain challenges. For example, on rainy days, can you light the wood? It's very hard because it's damp. What about when the twigs are wet? Still not possible. So rainy, there's a problem. Twigs are wet, there's a problem. What about when it's smoky and dim? Can you make the ritual? Can you conduct the ritual easy? When it's just smoke is blowing in your face. You could if you move, but it's not easy. It's not easy. Okay. Now, it also says that when you give oblations, when you give certain intentions to the fire, then before you do, the flames need to be shooting upwards. They need to be dancing and alive, dancing and have an energetic cheer to them. So you're like, wow, this is already getting, I have to know about the science of flames. Okay. And then it further says, when you offer these oblations into the fire, it has to be specifically in the center of the fire, neither on the left or the right edges. So you think, wow, so this is getting more and more complex. It wants to show you that if you do a ritual that gives you a limited result, there is a significant amount of work involved. And you say, well, what else is the issue with rituals? Materials. You have to buy and spend a lot of money to perform rituals, which are going to give you limited results. And then there's little commentaries by Shankara. He says that there are two dangers with rituals. The first one is that if you make a mistake in your mantras, if you make one mistake in your mantras, or if you skip a step in the prescribed actions of the ritual, it is like throwing your oblations into ashes. It produces no result. So you make one mistake, and already you have to repeat it. It doesn't produce the intended results. Say, wow, so I have to be really accurate in my...
So it can no result, or can it also be that there's other result that you didn't want? If you make a mistake,
yeah,
and the result will be differently that you want, because something goes wrong, instead of you want to do it right, you make a mistake, and then something bad happens. Okay, is that possible?
No. It says specifically no. It's not going to hurt you. It's just going to be non-effective.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's good. Yeah.
This Agnihotra, is that the Swaha tradition?
Yes. That's when you throw swaha. We'll get there. And then, okay. So what you do here is there's a fire, and the fire has to be a specific kind of fire, and you throw an intention. You put an intention inside an object, and that object will then be thrown into the fire. And that intention will get then sent to the right deities, who will then help you gain your intention or fructify your intention. So this is the general idea. I put an intention in the object, throw swaha, right? And then that reaches the appropriate deities, who then are going to offer you what you're asking for. And there are certain, so if you notice so far, there are number one, strict requirements. This is the hidden meaning behind Agnihotra. Yes, it does give you benefits, but the hidden meaning is strict requirements. If there is a mistake, it doesn't work. And there's a lot of cost. And despite all of them, you do get results, but they are time-bound results. Now, Agnihotra is, although it's the simplest, is still a lot of work. Still a lot of work and very complex. But what else does it do? Encourages discrimination. Because you got to throw it in the right kind of fire. If you miss it, that means you got to be very sharp. Aha, swaha. So what's the hidden meaning? It encourages your viveka. To do what? Well, to throw your oblations into 7 kinds of fires. Verse 4, Kali Karali Manojava Cha Sulohitaya Cha Sudhum Ravarna Spulingini Vishwaruchi Cha Devi Leya Mana Iti Sapta Jihvaha. Oh, look at this. 7 kinds of flames. So this means before throwing the oblations into the fire not only has to have all 7 flames present. That means you have to be attuned to these 7 flames. You have to know the flames very well and then throw your oblations so that your fire can swallow those oblations and send your intentions to the deities. And what are these 7 fires? Well, they have an appearance to them. The black, it's called Kali, the black. This is actually a blue flame. And a blue flame, what kind of a blue flame is it? It is when the twigs that you throw inside have moisture. So if you and I go outside and we moisten those twigs, they're going to produce a blue flame. So I need the blue flame there. What other flame? The terrible. This is Karali. This is a sudden, forceful flame that causes you to back off. You know those flames? You by the fire talking, and you back off. This has to be present.
But it says terrific. I don't know.
No, it says terrible.
It should be terrible.
Terrible.
That says terrific. Okay.
Yeah. And then Manojava, the swift flame, the one that appears and disappears repeatedly. You know these flames? They appear, disappear. So this has to be there. And then Sulohita, the crimson. The crimson just means red. In other words, a red flame which is caused by high carbon in the twigs. That's the red flame. And then we've got the sparkling, Spulingini, the sparkling. This is a flame that shoots small sparks. How? When the twigs are dry, you know those, like that one. Yeah. That's the sparkling flame. And then Vishwaruchi, the all-pervading flame. This is multicolored flame. I don't know what this one looks like. Multicolored flame that extends in all directions. Which one are you familiar with here?
I find the sparkling ones very annoying.
Yes, sparkling one is annoying. I also know about the sudden, causes you to back away. Yeah. Right. So look at our knowledge of flames. It's not very well rounded. It's not very polished. This means we couldn't perform these rituals, but to do these rituals, you need knowledge of 7 kinds of flames, and only then can I throw my oblations into the fire, swaha. So you can swallow and send to the intended destination. Now, the rest of these verses, we'll just talk about more detail, but I want to go straight on to verse 8 and show you what happens very soon, or what could happen, and that is overconfidence in these rituals can lead to a deluded teacher, possibly a deluded teacher. Avidyayam antare vartamanaha swayam dhiraha panditam manyamanaha janghanyamanaha pariyanti mudha andhena eva niyamana yatha andhaha. Yeah, so like the blind leading the blind. So these individuals we don't know who they are, but possibly they become spiritual teachers. And what do they teach? They teach to perform rituals. In other words, their mind is based on the end of life is rituals. So their minds are born of such a delusion based on avarana shakti. And what have they turned into? The way to make it is to act in this world. And this is what they started to teach to the audience. So it's blind leading the blind. The teacher doesn't know that there is more to life than just performance of these rituals. They teach that to their followers. The followers don't question the teacher. So everyone's just participating in this cosmic cycle of samsara. Just getting better results, falling down like this. We call this, the potentially a blind lineage. And there are examples of this. We could mention names, but we don't have to. I certainly know some blind lineages. Now, look at this. Next verse is interesting. The Upanishad is going to criticize them, not only such spiritual teachers, but also those who are making their life into mere rituals. Verse 9. Avidyayam bahudha vartamanaha vayam kritarthaha iti abhimanyanti balaha. That's the word bala. Yat karminaha na pravedayanti ragat tena aturaha kshinalokaha chavante. In other words, the Upanishads is not criticizing them for bad intentions, but like a concerned mother who sees the potential in her child, who is not exercising that potential, is the mother not going to be concerned? She's going to say, grow up. She's not being bad. She's coming out of a certain, I want to see the best. I can see your potential. Grow up, you child. Grow up. So that's what the Upanishad is saying here. They are like, Bala, children, who the Upanishad is like a mother who has a concern for them and saying, grow up, you children. I don't wish to hurt you, I wish to warn you. This is not what the ultimate intention is. The intention is to have a clear mind, a discerning mind, so that you can understand the knowledge. And what does the Upanishad do? It gives them one higher step. Not knowledge yet, but something in between. We will see this coming up. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.